Good evening, listeners. My name is EveningWhisperTales. Tonight, I'll be telling you some scary horror stories to help you relax and fall asleep. If you enjoy this channel, I'd really appreciate it if you like and subscribe. Now, let's begin our evening together. Story 1. The Cabin That Answered Us. We rented the cabin because it was cheap and isolated, and because none of us had cell service anyway, so it didn't really matter where we went. 7 of us drove up in 2 cars, winding through forest roads that narrowed the farther we went, sunlight flickering between trees so tall they blocked most of the sky. The GPS cut out about 20 minutes before we arrived, but the gravel driveway had a wooden sign nailed to a post with the cabin's name burned into it and an arrow pointing downhill toward a clearing. The place looked better than expected. 2 stories, wrap-around porch, fire pit out back, lake visible through the trees. The air smelled like pine needles and cold water. Tyler ran ahead with the keys while Jenna filmed the view and Marco complained about bugs. Inside felt echoey, not empty, just hollow in a way houses usually aren't. We dropped bags in the living room and opened windows. The kitchen was stocked. The fireplace swept clean. Board games stacked neatly on a shelf. Someone flipped a light switch and every lamp turned on at once. All or nothing, I guess, Sarah joked. We laughed. The first weird thing happened an hour later when we realized the fridge had refilled itself. We'd unloaded groceries, beer, meat, fruit, sandwich stuff, stacked everything carefully because there wasn't much room. When Marco went back for another drink, the shelf was packed again. Same brands, same quantities, cold, condensation still forming. He held 2 identical bottles side by side. Did someone bring extra? No one had. We checked the bags, empty. We shrugged it off. Second weird thing, the guest book. It sat on the coffee table under a little wooden sign that read, "Welcome, right back." Most cabins had something like that. This one didn't have dates, just names, hundreds of them. No handwriting differences. Every entry looked the same, neat looping cursive. Tyler flipped pages. They all say thanks for the stay. Jenna frowned. That's not normal. Sarah pointed at the last line. It was blank. Below it, written faintly like someone had pressed hard without ink. You can answer too. We decided to go down to the lake before dark. The trail behind the cabin sloped gently through trees and brush until it opened into a dock that stretched into still black water. No waves, no bugs hovering, no frogs. The woods felt muted like someone had wrapped them in insulation. Marco skipped a rock. It didn't bounce, just sank. Tyler tried another. Same thing. Jenna nudged me. Water's weird. We headed back up when the sun dipped lower, orange light threading through trunks. Halfway to the cabin, Sarah slowed. Was that us? What? She pointed at footprints in the dirt trail. Bare feet, 7 sets, walking ahead of us. We were all wearing shoes. Tyler laughed nervously and said maybe someone else had been swimming earlier, but the prints were fresh, edges sharp, pressed into damp soil. Same size spacing as ours, same pace. They led uphill, toward the cabin. We didn't talk much after that. When we reached the porch, the front door was open. We were sure we'd closed it. Inside, the lights were on again. All of them. The guest book sat open to the blank page. Now it wasn't blank. 7 names had been written. Ours. In the same looping cursive. Tyler picked it up slowly. We didn't write this. Under the names, a new line had appeared. Thank you for answering. From somewhere deeper in the cabin, a door creaked, not slammed, Not forced, just opened, like the house had heard us come back. Story 2, the bus route that added stops. The night shift was supposed to be easy. Empty streets, quiet neighborhoods, a handful of regular passengers who nodded when they boarded and slept until their stop came up. I'd been driving that route for 3 years and knew every turn by muscle memory, every cracked curb and crooked sign. That's how I noticed when the stop wasn't there. It appeared between Maple and Ridge, right where the road curved past an abandoned lot. A fresh signpost stood on the sidewalk. White reflective panel, black lettering. Stop 47, Pine Access. I slowed without meaning to. We didn't have 47 stops. We had 39. I glanced at the route sheet clipped to my dash. No Pine Access. No stop between Maple and Ridge. The bus was empty except for 4 people. A woman with grocery bags, a guy in a hoodie with earbuds in, an older man reading a paperback, and a teenager staring out the window. No one pulled the cord. I kept going. In the mirror, I saw the teenager lean forward and look back through the rear window. "What's Pine Access?" she asked. "No idea," I said. We turned the corner. 30 seconds later, the same sign stood ahead of us again. Top 47, Pine Access. Same scuff at the base of the pole. Same dent halfway up. I slowed harder this time. "That wasn't there a block ago," the woman muttered. The older man folded a book. The teenager said, "You drove past it." "I didn't." The earbuds guy pulled one out. "Yeah, you did." I checked the street signs. We were still on Ridge. We hadn't looped. The bus rumbled forward. The stop slid past on the right. I didn't brake. In the mirror, I watched it recede. Then the streetlights flickered. Once, twice. When they came back on, the bus shelter sat ahead of us. Brand new glass panels. Bench inside. Digital arrival screen glowing green. Stop 47. Pine Access. The screen scrolled, now boarding. The bus slowed on its own. My foot wasn't on the brake. The engine tone dropped. Air hissed in the lines. The doors stayed shut. The teenager whispered, "It's not supposed to do that." Someone stood inside the shelter. Tall, too still, facing away. No coat, no bag, no phone, just waiting. The digital sign blinked, capacity available. The older man said quietly, "Do not open that." The bus doors chimed and began to part. Story 3, the storage unit that had our names. We only rented 3 units, that was the whole point. Quick in and out while Mark remodeled his basement, split the costs between a few of us, dump furniture in boxes for a month and forget about them. The facility sat off the highway behind a self-wash car lot and a shuttered diner. Rows of metal doors glowing orange under floodlights even though it was barely dusk. A keypad gate buzzed us in, and a bored teenager behind bulletproof glass slid our contracts under the window. Unit C14, C15, C16, she said. We drove inside with hazard lights blinking, hopping out to start unloading. It took me a second to notice the lettering, not on the doors. Above them, spray painted in neat black strokes. Mark over C14, Jenna over C15, Owen over C16. Mark stared at his. "Did you request that?" "No," Jenna said. Owen shook his head. We checked the paperwork. Just numbers, no names. I went back to the office. The girl frowned. "We don't paint names." "Someone did." She peered over the counter. "Those units been empty all month." When I walked back, the paint was still wet, dripping slightly down the corrugated metal. Owen touched his and swore. "Cold." We opened Mark's unit first. Inside was stuff. Not his stuff. A couch, a lamp, a stack of plastic bins, all arranged neatly against the back wall. Mark blinked. That's not mine. Jenna opened hers. Same thing, different furniture. A desk, a mattress leaned sideways, boxes labeled with black marker, winter, tools, photos. Owen's unit held shelves, full. Every shelf stacked with sealed cardboard boxes. Each box had a printed label, his full name, middle initial included. We didn't open them. We stood there, too long. The lights overhead buzzed. One of the rows farther down clanged shut, metal on metal, then another. The sound traveled, door after door slamming closed, automatic. The keypad gate at the front clicked and reset. Behind us, Mark's unit door slid halfway down. No one was touching it. The inside light stayed on. Someone had written on the concrete floor, fresh chalk, right between our feet, move in slowly. Story 4, the hotel floor. That wasn't on the elevator panel. We booked 2 rooms because the conference rates were cheap and the hotel was close to the venue, which felt like a win until we realized the building looked older in person than it had online. Not run down exactly, just preserved, like it had been renovated a dozen times without ever changing its bones. 6 of us piled into the lobby dragging suitcases while rain streaked the glass doors behind us. Tyler argued with the front desk about parking validation, Jenna hunted for the bathrooms, and Marco kept poking at a decorative fountain that didn't have water in it. The clerk finally slid 2 key cards across the counter. 12th floor, she said. I frowned. The building only has 10. She didn't look up. Not tonight. We stared at her. Marco laughed awkwardly. Funny. She slid a printed receipt toward us. It said, Rooms 1208 and 1209, level 12. No explanation. We took the cards and headed for the elevators. The button panel listed floors 1 through 10, no 12. Jenna pressed 10, doors closed. The elevator rose smoothly, numbers lighting in sequence. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The doors didn't open. The elevator kept going. The panel went blank. Marco muttered, "That's not how elevators work." Then a new number flickered into place. The doors slid open. The hallway looked nothing like the rest of the hotel. Downstairs, everything had beige carpet and abstract art in soft yellow sconces. Up here, the walls were darker, the ceiling lower, the lights humming faintly as if they were struggling to stay on. Room numbers weren't metal plaques. They were painted directly onto the wall. 1200, 1 through 1216. We walked past several doors. Every single one had a "Do Not Disturb" sign hanging on the knob. All of them. Jenna knocked on one without thinking. No answer. She leaned in. "I hear something." We listened. From inside came the sound of furniture scraping slowly across the floor, not moving fast, repositioning. Tyler swiped his card at 1208, green light. The door opened into a perfectly normal room. 2 beds, lamp, TV, bathroom spotless. The window, though, didn't show the city. It showed forest, black tree silhouettes stretching to the horizon under a cloudy night sky. We were in the middle of downtown. Marco stepped closer to the glass. "That's not..." The curtains were already open. Nobody remembered opening them. Tyler flipped on the TV static. He changed channels. Everyone showed the same thing. A hallway camera feed, grainy, security cam angle. It took me a second to realize what we were looking at. Our hallway, floor 12. The camera zoomed slightly, centered on our door, room 1208. From behind the lens, something breathed. Jenna backed away from the TV. Sarah whispered, "That's not broadcast." The phone in Tyler's pocket buzzed. No service bars, a text anyway. "Please remain in your room." Another message followed. "Checkout is scheduled," Marco typed back. "Who is this?" The response came instantly. "Level 12. From the hallway came the sound of another door unlocking, then another, then another. Keycard beeps traveling down the corridor toward us. Tyler locked our door. The deadbolt slid into place. We heard footsteps, slow, careful, stopping at each room, pausing, listening. The TV changed angles. Now the feed showed a group of people standing in the hallway outside another door farther. Down, they looked like guests, suitcases, jackets, confused. The door in front of them opened. From inside the room, something reached out and took the suitcase. Just the suitcase. Pulled it in. The door shut. The people stood there for a second. Then the TV cut back to static. Jenna whispered, "They're checking us in." The footsteps stopped outside our door. A key card beeped. Red, again, red, then green, and the handle began to turn. Story 5. The tunnel that opened after midnight. We didn't even know there was construction happening on that stretch of highway. 10 of us were coming back from a late movie, convoying in 2 cars because someone always got lost if we didn't, talking over walkie-talkies like idiots and arguing about which place was still open for food. The road cut through a wooded hillside, 2 lanes with concrete barriers tight on either side. No exits for miles. Then headlights washed over a new sign. Bright orange. Fresh. Reflective paint. Road realignment. Use temporary tunnel. None of us remembered that being there earlier. Tyler slowed. "Was that here when we drove in?" Jenna's voice crackled through the radio. "Nope." Ahead, the road dipped, straight into a tunnel mouth carved into the hillside. Perfect oval, smooth concrete, floodlights lining the ceiling inside. It looked brand new, too new. Construction equipment usually sat around these things. Barricades, dump trucks, workers. There was nothing. Just open asphalt leading underground. We drove in anyway, because what else were we supposed to do? The radios fizzed with static the second we crossed the threshold. Phones lost signal. GPS maps froze. The tunnel curved gently and kept going longer than it should have. Way longer. We passed 1 mile marker, then another, white paint still crisp on the wall. Marco muttered from the back seat, "This wasn't in the trailers." Jenna's car drifted, closer, behind us. The ceiling lights flickered once, kept working. The tunnel didn't echo the way tunnels usually do. Our engines sounded muted, swallowed. We rounded another curve and saw scaffolding ahead, metal frames bolted to the wall, plastic sheets hanging limp. Construction at last, except no workers, no tools, no generators, just equipment set up and abandoned. Tyler slowed. The second car did too. We passed through the scaffolding and noticed the concrete beyond it was darker, older, stained, like the tunnel had been extended into something that had already existed. A new sign hung crookedly from chains. Speed limit, 15 miles per hour. Then another, headlights required. They already were. Then, do not stop. That one made my stomach tighten. "What happens if we do?" someone asked on the radio. Nobody answered. The radios crackled. A voice slid through that wasn't Jenna's. "Maintain spacing." Tyler grabbed the mic. "Who is that?" Static. Then the voice again, closer, not distorted. "Do not cluster." The second car honked. We slowed anyway, because the road ahead dipped again. Downward, steeper than before. Water pooled along the edges, dripped from the ceiling. The concrete changed color to rough stone, natural, like we'd driven out of construction and into something hollowed out a long time ago. The lights spaced farther apart. Shadows grew. We saw a pull-off lane, wide enough for a truck, empty. A digital sign glowed above it. Vehicle count verified. Jenna whispered over the radio, "Why does it know how many cars we have?" Another sign lit up farther ahead. Passenger count, pending. Tyler didn't slow. The second car tried to pass us and couldn't. The lanes had narrowed, the walls felt closer. Then the tunnel split. Two identical arches, no signs, no arrows, just left and right. Tyler hesitated, the voice returned in the radio. "Choose." "Choose what?" He snapped. The radio popped. Jenna yelled, "Mine just died." Overhead, lights shut off in the left tunnel. The right stayed bright. Where was the right? Behind us, the left tunnel didn't go dark. It pulsed, like something big had moved through it. The road sloped down again, and the lights ahead were no longer white. They were yellow, old, flickering. We passed a mirror bolted to the wall like in parking garages. It reflected our car, and nothing behind us. But Jenna's headlights were still visible in the rear window. They weren't in the mirror. Story 6. The school reunion that didn't recognize us. We only went because someone made a group chat, and nostalgia is a powerful drug. 20 years since graduation. One night only. Gymnasium decorated with streamers. Folding tables with name tags. Bad DJ playing throwbacks. 9 of us met in the parking lot first, laughing about gray hair and bad knees and how nobody felt like the same person they were at. 18. The banner over the doors read, "Welcome back. Class of 2006. That was us." Inside smelled like punch and floor polish. Alumni milled around in clusters, hugging, squinting at name tags, shouting over music. We grabbed drinks and started scanning for familiar faces. That was when Jenna frowned. "Why does everyone look older?" I blinked. "We're 40. "No," she said slowly. "I mean older than that." Wrinkled deeper, hair thinner, posture bent in a way that came from decades, not 2. Marco leaned close. "That guy was a junior when we graduated." The DJ announced something we couldn't hear over feedback, then switched songs without finishing. Tyler spotted a yearbook table set up along the wall and wandered over. "They have copies of ours." We followed. Stacks of thick hardcover books sat in neat piles, covers embossed with the school mascot, but the year wasn't right. Class of 2006, 2nd edition. Jenna opened one, flipped to her photo, stared. "That's not me." It was her, but older, deep lines around the mouth, hair thinner, eyes tired in a way Jenna's weren't yet. Next to it was a small caption, "Jennifer L. Returned." Tyler checked his. Same thing, older version, same caption. Marco flipped farther. Some faces were crossed out with black marker. Across the top of the page, someone had stamped, "Not in attendance." We backed away from the table. The music slowed, not a song, a single long note. People around us stopped talking, stopped moving, facing the stage. The DJ booth light flickered. A woman in a staff shirt stepped onto the microphone. "We'll be starting the recognition portion shortly." Nobody clapped. She smiled too long. "We like to confirm attendance." Doors at the far end of the gym closed, one by one, not slammed, just clicked shut. Jenna whispered, "Why are there security guards by the exits?" I hadn't noticed them. 4 of them, standing in front of doors, hands clasped, facing inward, watching us. Tyler tugged his sleeve. My name tag. It hadn't said his name before. Now it read, returning, unconfirmed. A chime sounded overhead. Soft. School bell soft. Lockers rattled down the hallway. The woman on stage continued smiling. If you hear your name, please come forward. She looked down at a clipboard and read Jenna's. Story 7, the forest road that erased our maps. We took the shortcut because everyone does. 2-lane state road cutting through miles of pine forest, supposed to shave half an hour off the drive to the cabin we'd rented for the weekend. 8 of us in 2 SUVs, radios linking the cars while someone in the back seat kept track of the playlist. At first it was perfect. Smooth asphalt, sunlight cutting through branches, the smell of sap drifting in through cracked windows. Then the mile markers stopped, not gradually, all at once. We passed a post that said mile 14, and after that there were no more. Tyler slowed. Wasn't there another one like every... Jenna checked her phone. No service. Marco zoomed out on the map. The blue line dissolved, not frozen, gone. The app reloaded and showed a blank green screen with a compass needle spinning in the middle. The radio crackled between the cars. Anyone else lose it? Jenna asked. All 8 phones did. We kept driving because the road didn't change. Still smooth, still curving gently, still forest on both sides. But the sun wasn't moving. We'd been heading west. It stayed in the same place. Low, bright, locked just above the treetops. That made people nervous. We passed a wooden sign. No reflectors, no paint, just carved letters. Scenic route. We hadn't seen a turnoff in 20 minutes. A little farther on, another. Scenic route. Continue. Then, scenic route. Almost. Tyler muttered, almost what? We reached a bridge. Single lane. Wood planks. Guardrails missing. A shallow creek ran underneath. The second SUV hesitated, then followed. Halfway across, the radio died. No static, just silence. When we reached the other side and looked back, the bridge wasn't there. Just trees, thick, growing right up to the edge of the pavement. Jenna's voice came through the radio anyway. I don't think this is state land. How are you talking to us? Tyler asked. The radio clicked. Dead. We passed another sign. Maps. Inaccurate. Marco leaned forward. That wasn't there. Then another. Turning back, useless. Nobody laughed. The forest pressed closer to the shoulder, branches leaning toward the road like they were curious. We tried to turn around at a wider patch. The steering wheel locked halfway. Tyler forced it. The tires screeched. The car didn't pivot. The road felt crowned, tilted inward, like the pavement itself didn't want us facing the other direction. The second SUV honked. We rolled forwards again because we couldn't do anything else. Ahead, the trees thinned. A clearing opened. In the center stood a ranger station. Wooden building, flagpole, parking lot. Relief surged through both cars. Until we noticed the sign. It didn't list a park name. Just 3 words burned into the wood. You are still driving. Story 8. The power outage that only hit our block. The storm wasn't supposed to be that bad. Rain, sure. Wind gust. Maybe a branch down somewhere. Nothing that usually knocked out electricity in a whole neighborhood, especially not in the middle of town, where lines were buried and crews fixed things fast. 10 of us were at my place for game night when the lights went out. Not flickered, out. Every lamp, every overhead bulb, the TV, the microwave clock, all dead at once. The house dropped into sudden darkness, broken only by the glow from our phones. Breaker, Tyler said automatically, before I could move. Jenna looked out the front window, the street still on. We followed her. Every house across the road glowed warm and yellow. Porch lights, living rooms, TVs flickering behind curtains. Our side of the street was black. Every single house, mine, the neighbors, all dark in a neat line stretching down the block. Marco checked the window to the left. The house next door was lit, right next to ours, just not us. Sarah frowned. That's targeted. I grabbed a flashlight and headed for the basement with Tyler behind me. The breaker panel was fine, nothing tripped, everything marked on. When we came back upstairs, Owen was standing in the kitchen staring at his phone. No bars, he said. Everyone checked. Nothing. Wi-Fi dead too. Jenna tried to text someone across the street. Message failed. From outside came the hum of life continuing as usual. Cars passing, a lawn sprinkler clicking on somewhere, someone laughing on a porch 2 houses down. It felt wrong being the only dark patch. Then we heard the knock. Front door, 3 slow hits. I froze halfway to the hallway. Nobody said anything. Another knock, same rhythm. I peeked through the peephole. A man stood on the porch, older, gray jacket, hands folded in front of him, not holding a phone, not sheltering from rain, just waiting. I opened the door a crack. "Power's out," I said before he could speak. He nodded. "I know." "Okay, I'm here about that. Are you with the utility company?" "No." Behind him, the houses across the street flickered, just once, like someone blinking. "What do you want?" Tyler asked from behind me. The man tilted his head slightly. "To check how dark you are." I shut the door, locked it, deadbolt and chain. My phone buzzed, a group text, from Jenna. She was standing next to me. "Did you hear that another message came through from an unknown number? Level confirmed." Sarah whispered. "What level?" The porch light across the street turned off. Then the next house, then the next. Like someone was clicking them off one by one, walking down the block toward us. Marco looked through the blinds. "They're turning everything off." Street lights went next. 1, 2, 3. The road sank into shadow except for the cone of light over our porch. Footsteps sounded on concrete, not running, unhurried, approaching. Jenna whispered, "Why would he knock if he was doing that?" From the porch came another 3 knocks, closer than before, even though he hadn't left. Owen swallowed. "I don't think that's the same guy." The door handle twitched, just a little, and from the backyard fence came the sound of someone climbing. Wood creaking, careful, testing weight. Around the house, other fences started making the same sound, all at once, like the whole block had decided to step closer. Story 9, the museum wing. That wasn't open yet. We only went into that side because the bathrooms on the main floor were closed. 10 of us had wandered into the city museum after dinner, killing time before a late show across the street, drifting through exhibits about shipwrecks and fossils and ancient tools, while arguing about whether we had enough time to grab dessert afterward. A temporary sign near the stairs pointed left. Restrooms. That hallway wasn't part of the map brochure. We noticed that right away. White walls, polished floor, ceiling lights spaced too evenly. None of the decorative banners or donor plaques you usually saw in the older wings. Tyler slowed. Did we miss an expansion announcement? Jenna unfolded the brochure. Nope. The hallway kept going and going. Doors appeared along the right wall, all labeled with neat black placards. Archive storage, authorized personnel only at the end, sat 2 restroom signs. We split up while people waited outside, scrolling phones and leaning against the wall. That was when Marco noticed the other door. It didn't match the rest. Dark wood, carved trim, brass handle polished from decades of use. A plaque above it read, "Temporarily closed, exhibit installation." Sarah frowned. Why does that look old? The bathrooms were fine. When we regrouped, Marco was already reaching for the handle. "Don't," Jenna said automatically. He paused. "Why?" She shrugged. "Just feels wrong." Of course, that made him turn it. The door opened silently. No creak, no resistance. Inside was a long gallery lit by dim amber track lights. Glass display cases lined both walls. Empty. Labels beneath them described things that weren't inside. Personal effects. Recovered at site bone fragments. Unclassified, unidentified fabric. The floor sloped gently downward. We shouldn't have gone in. We did anyway. Our footsteps sounded too loud in there. Some of the cases farther in weren't empty. They held objects wrapped in plastic. Shoes, wallets, phones, keys, a child's backpack. Tyler leaned close to one. "That looks like my brand." Jenna stared at another. "Those are my headphones." Everyone checked pockets, bags, hands. Everything was still with us, for now. At the center of the gallery stood a large circular pedestal with nothing on top except a single clipboard. Sarah picked it up. The paper was warm. The form clipped to it read, "Group entry log below" were handwritten lines. Times, dates, numbers, group sizes, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2. The bottom line was blank. A pen lay beside it, still uncapped. Marco whispered, "I don't think we're supposed to fill that out." Behind us, the door slid shut. No slam, just the soft click of a magnet seal. We all turned. Tyler rushed back and pulled. It didn't move. Jenna ran to the bathrooms. Those doors were gone. Just blank wall, smooth, paint, unbroken. Sarah's voice shook. "Guys, these cases." We looked. More of them were full now. New items, a jacket identical to Marco's, my water bottle, someone's scarf, and the labels beneath had updated, printed in fresh ink, recovered at site, in progress. The lights dimmed, not off, lower. Farther down the gallery, a second door opened, one that none of us remembered being there. From inside came the muffled sound of people talking, laughing, footsteps, like another group had just wandered in. Marco swallowed. We weren't the first ones down here, were we? The clipboard pen rolled slightly, stopped, pointing at the blank line, waiting for a number. Story 10, the subdivision that wasn't finished. We only took that exit because the highway slowed to a crawl, and the navigation app promised it would shave 15 minutes off the drive. 8 of us were packed into 2 cars, headlights glowing across rows of identical sedans creeping forward while someone in the back complained about needing a bathroom. "Exit 214, Tyler read, through a new development. The ramp curved down into darkness. Fresh asphalt, no reflectors yet. Temporary orange cones pushed off to one side like someone had forgotten to collect them. The subdivision appeared all at once. Rows of new houses half lit by porch lights and street lamps. Driveways empty, lawns freshly seeded. Signs at the entrance still had balloons tied to them. Coming soon. Phase 3. We drove past finished homes with curtains and mailboxes, and then into streets where only every other house was complete. Frames stood where siding should be, windows dark holes. Dumpsters sat overflowing, but no trucks or workers were anywhere. Jenna frowned. This feels abandoned. We followed a road through 3 identical roundabouts, the same fountain in the middle of each. dry, cracked. We slowed. Tyler glanced back. Didn't we pass that already? Marco checked his phone. No signal. Street names repeated. Birch Lane, Cedar Way, Birch Lane again. We tried to turn back. The entrance was gone. Just more houses, some finished, some skeletal. Porch lights flicked on in sequence as we drove, following us down the block. Zara whispered, "Why are those turning on?" Nobody answered. We passed a playground that hadn't been mulched yet, swings hanging motionless, slides still wrapped in plastic. A man stood in the center of it, hard hat, reflective vest, clipboard tucked under his arm, not moving. Tyler slowed. The man looked up and smiled, too wide, and raised his pen. Behind him, the street sign read, "Final walkthrough." The radio in the car crackled. A voice spoke calmly, "Please remain in your vehicles." Jenna grabbed Tyler's sleeve. "That's not your radio." Both cars' engines stuttered, then idled, then shut off, all at once, and every porch light on the street turned off. Together. Story 11, the restaurant that only served the groups. We didn't plan to stop there. We were already hungry and arguing about whether to just grab fast food when Jenna spotted the sign glowing faintly between trees along the highway. Open late, dinner in red neon, half the letters flickering. 9 of us piled off the exit ramp out of curiosity more than anything. The parking lot was big, too big for a single building. A gravel expanse with faded white lines and only 3 other cars parked near the entrance. All dark, no lights inside, no one getting out. The restaurant itself looked like a converted lodge. Heavy timber beams, wide windows, a stone chimney rising into the dark. Inside smelled incredible. Roasted meat, garlic, bread, warm and comforting enough that our nerves eased immediately. A hostess waited by the door. No podium, just standing there, smiling. "How many?" she asked. 9, Tyler said. Her smile widened. "Perfect." That should have bothered us. She didn't grab menus, didn't ask smoking or non-smoking, just turned and walked deeper into the building. We followed, past the main dining room where tables were full of people eating quietly. Forks clinking, glasses clinking, conversation low and indistinct, too low, like everyone was trying not to be overheard. She led us through a second room, then a third, each one darker, each one with fewer diners. The last room had only one long table in the center, set for 9, candles already lit, steam rising from covered dishes. "We didn't order," Jenna said. The hostess gestured. "For efficiency." We sat, because we were tired, because food smelled good, because nothing was obviously wrong yet. Servers appeared almost immediately, placed plates in front of us without asking. Heavy ceramic, covered by domed lids, water glasses filled, bread baskets set down. No one spoke while they worked. Marco leaned toward me. "What kind of place is this?" Before I could answer, the hostess returned. She clasped her hands. "Before dining, we confirm." "Confirm what?" Tyler asked. She nodded toward the table. "That everyone arrived." Arrived where?" She didn't answer. She lifted one of the lids. Underneath was an empty plate, spotless, then another, and another, all 9. No food, just clean ceramic. Jenna frowned. "That's not funny." The hostess tilted her head. "Oh, those aren't for eating." The candles flickered. The room felt suddenly larger, like the walls had moved back. "What are they for?" Sarah asked. "For setting aside." The doors behind us closed and not slammed, just eased shut, one by one. In the main dining rooms beyond, the soft chatter stopped, All at once, the hostess leaned in closer. "So," she smiled again, "who's missing?" Story 12. The train platform that wasn't on the schedule. We only went down there because the announcement told us to. 12 of us had been waiting in the main concourse for a late-night departure, sprawled across metal benches with backpacks under our feet, coffee cups scattered around, half listening to music and half watching departure boards flicker between cities. Then every screen blinked at once. Our train disappeared, not delayed, not cancelled, gone, replaced by a single line of text. "Please proceed to lower platform." Jenna frowned. "There is no lower platform." Someone nearby said the same thing. A station attendant walked past pushing a cart of cleaning supplies. Tyler called out, "Excuse me." The attendant didn't slow, didn't turn, just kept walking toward a service corridor at the end of the hall. We followed. The corridor sloped downward, past vending machines that weren't plugged in, past blank advertising screens, past closed doors marked employees only that rattled softly, like something on the other side was moving. The stairs at the end led deeper than the station should have gone. Concrete walls, yellow hazard stripes, lights spaced far apart. A small group of other passengers drifted down with us, confused but curious. At the bottom sat a platform, long, narrow, curving out of sight. No signage, no maps, no clocks. The air smelled like oil and cold stone. Tracks gleamed faintly. A woman asked, "What line is this?" No one answered. The loudspeaker crackled, not overhead, from inside the wall. "Stand clear of the edge," Jenna whispered. "That's not the voice from upstairs." Tyler tried his phone. No service, no Wi-Fi, nothing. We counted again. More people had followed us. 30 maybe, 40. Nobody remembered joining our group. The tunnel lights flickered, a wind stirred, not from a train, from deeper down the tracks. Slow, breathing, something massive shifting in a place too narrow for it. A man stepped back from the edge. "There's no third rail." He was right, just two shining lines vanishing into dark. Then a glow appeared in the tunnel. Not headlamps, too low, too wide, reflected off wet stone. The loudspeaker whispered, "Remain grouped," and the tunnel breathed in. Story 13. The stadium that didn't let us leave. We bought the tickets last minute. Flash sale, nosebleeds cheap enough that nobody questioned why so many seats were still open the afternoon of the game. 10 of us piled into ride shares and tailgated in the lot before walking in under towering floodlights, the roar of the crowd already shaking the concrete beneath our shoes. Everything felt normal at first. Hot dogs, beer, merch vendors yelling over each other. We found our row and squeezed in while players warmed up on the field. The first quarter flew by. By halftime, the scoreboard flashed a montage of fans dancing, kids waving at the camera, couples kissing while the crowd cheered. Then the exit signs went dark. Nobody noticed at first. The game kept going. Third quarter started. The cameras kept scanning the stands, but every time they panned past our section, the screen skipped, glitched, jumped ahead a few rows. Marco laughed nervously. "We're too ugly for TV." Jenna pointed toward the tunnel behind us. The security gate that usually stayed open between quarters had slid shut. More guards stood there than before, not talking, not watching the game, facing the crowd, facing us. Tyler checked his phone. No bars. Nobody had any. The beer vendor who'd been pacing the aisle stopped, just stood there holding the tray. Eyes locked on the field. The scoreboard switched from stats to a wide aerial view. The parking lot, empty, no cars, just long rows of white lines under floodlights. Sarah whispered, "Where did everyone park?" The camera zoomed out farther, past the lot, past the highway, forest, darkness, then it cut back to the field. The players weren't moving. Frozen mid-play, the ball hung in the air. The referee stared straight up. The crowd around us stopped cheering, one by one, like sound being dialed down. We tried to stand. The row wouldn't let us through. People didn't resist. They just didn't move, didn't respond. The loudspeaker boomed, not the announcer, a different voice, calmer. "Please remain seated." The field lights dimmed. Spotlights flicked on along the aisles, sweeping, searching, and every one of them paused on our row. Story 14, the highway rest stop that locked after midnight. We only pulled in because 2 people in the back seat needed bathrooms, and the sign promised fuel and food 24 hours a day. 8 of us rolled off the interstate just after midnight, the road empty enough that our headlights felt like the only things keeping the dark back. The rest stop sat in a clearing between thick trees, fluorescent lights buzzing over a long, low building, with glass walls and vending machines glowing inside. The parking lot was almost empty, 1 semi at the far end, 2 sedans near the entrance. No one moving. Inside smelled like disinfectant and burnt coffee. Bathrooms down the hall, gift shop racks half empty. A tired-looking cashier watched a small TV behind the counter. We split up. Marco and Jenna went for snacks. Tyler and I headed for the bathrooms. Sarah stayed near the entrance, scrolling her phone. When we came back, the front doors were shut, locked. The automatic sensor didn't react when Tyler waved. He pressed his palms against the glass. Outside, the parking lot lights were still on. Cars sat where we'd left them. The interstate beyond glowed faintly. "Probably after hours lock," Jenna said. "But it's supposed to be 24, Marco replied. Sarah looked up. "My phone says it's 12:07. Tyler checked his watch. "Same." The cashier stood up suddenly. "Bathrooms close at 12. We were just in there." She didn't answer that. She walked toward a hallway we hadn't noticed before. One marked staff only. Tyler followed. "Hey, we need the door unlocked." She disappeared through it. We waited. 5 minutes. 10. Nobody came back. We tried the side doors. Locked. Emergency exit bars didn't budge. From outside, headlights swept across the windows. Another car pulling in. Relief surged. We waved, banged on the glass. The car rolled past, didn't slow, didn't turn, just vanished into the trees on the far side of the lot where there wasn't a road. Marco whispered, "That's not the exit." The TV behind the counter flicked to static, then to a grainy black and white camera feed. The parking lot, our cars, the semi, one of the sedans. The camera zoomed slowly toward our vehicles. Jenna swallowed. Why are they filming us? A new line of text appeared at the bottom of the screen. Overnight. Processing. In progress. From the staff hallway came the sound of metal doors opening, lots of them, down a long corridor. Sarah whispered, "I don't think this is a rest stop." The lights dimmed. Emergency fluorescence hummed on instead, and something heavy rolled behind the staff doors. Story 15, the ferry terminal that wasn't on the coast. We didn't even know there was a ferry terminal along that stretch of road. 10 of us were driving back from a weekend trip, tired and sunburned and hungry, arguing about playlists while the ocean stayed just out of sight behind dunes and scrub brush. Then the road dipped and a sign appeared, "Harbor access, vehicles welcome." Tyler slowed. "Since when?" Jenna leaned forward. I don't see water. We rounded a bend and found a wide paved lot lit by towering floodlights, booths, ticket lanes, dock ramps, everything you'd expect at a port, except the sea. Beyond the rails was only blackness, no waves, no smell of salt, no horizon, just an empty drop where the land ended. A massive vessel waited at the end of one ramp, lights on, engines idling, waterless, suspended over nothing. Sarah whispered, "What is it floating on?" We rolled up to the booth. No attendant, ticket printer glowing, a stack of passes already printed, vehicle count matched us. 10, date stamped today, departure time immediate. A loudspeaker chimed, "Please proceed to loading." We hadn't paid. The ramp light turned green anyway. Cars ahead of us moved, no one driving them, just rolling forward. Tyler froze. Our car lurched, not under his foot. The ramp tilted, guiding us. Jenna shouted, "Put it in park." The shifter wouldn't move. We rolled onto the ferry, metal clanged under tires. The doors behind us shut. Across the deck, other vehicles sat empty with doors open, suitcases on seats, engines still warm. A voice echoed over the intercom. "Final boarding." Sarah whispered, "This isn't coastal." The deck lights dimmed, the vessel vibrated, and beyond the railings, something moved in the dark where water should have been. Story 16, the neighborhood that repeated itself. We noticed it because of the mailbox. 10 of us were driving back from a birthday dinner, full and loud and half arguing about dessert, when Tyler took a wrong turn off a side street and said he'd cut through a residential loop instead of circling back to the main road. The first mailbox was shaped like a fish, bright blue, cartoon eyes, rust on one fin. Sarah laughed and pointed it out as we passed. 3 minutes later, we drove past it again. Same fish, same rust, same crooked wooden post. Jenna leaned forward. "Did you just..." "No," Tyler said automatically. "Different one." But the houses around it matched too. Brown ranch with a white truck. 2-story gray place with wind chimes on the porch. A swing set in a yard lit by a motion sensor that clicked on as we passed. We reached a 4-way stop. Tyler turned left. No one argued. We drove 2 blocks. Fish mailbox. Again. Nobody laughed this time. Marco pulled out his phone. No signal. Sarah twisted around in her seat. "Okay, we looped. Just turn around." Tyler slowed and tried. The road narrowed. Not physically, but the parked cars on both sides seemed closer together than before. He completed the turn anyway. We went straight. New houses appeared. Different colors, different yards. A basketball hoop tipped sideways over a driveway. Relief crept in. Then the hoop showed up again. Same crack in the backboard. Same sagging rim. Jenna whispered, "That's not possible." We passed a group of people standing on a sidewalk. 4 adults, 2 kids, all facing a garage, none of them talking, none of them moving. Tyler rolled down the window. "Hey!" Every head turned at once. Slow, in sync. They didn't look angry. They didn't look curious. They looked like they'd been waiting for the right car. Tyler accelerated. Nobody followed. We reached another intersection. Stop sign. Street name, Circuit Drive. Marco frowned. That wasn't the name before. 2 blocks later, another sign said the same thing. So did the next. Every road was Circuit Drive. The radio cut out, replaced by faint static. Then a woman's voice that none of us recognized. "Please remain in your vehicle." Tyler slapped the radio off. It came back on by itself. "Residents are being sorted." Jenna grabbed the dashboard. "Sorted how?" We passed the fish mailbox again. This time there were two of them, side by side, identical. Across the street, the family from before stood in a driveway. Now there were more people with them, neighbors, friends, dogs sitting calmly at their feet, all watching the road, watching us. The headlights dimmed, not turned off, filtered, like fog had rolled in even though the air outside looked clear. Marco whispered, "Why do I feel like we're slowing?" Tyler pressed the gas. The speedometer climbed. The houses drifted past more slowly. Front porches stretched longer than they should. Windows multiplied. Some houses had no doors anymore, just siding. Sarah pointed. "There are people in the windows." We looked. Figures stood behind glass in half the houses now. Not waving, not knocking, just standing, in every room, in every floor, facing the street. The voice came back through the radio. Closer, no static. "Vehicle identified," Tyler shouted. "Stop talking to us." The voice ignored him. "Occupant count, 10. Streetlights shut off behind us, then the ones beside us. Ahead, a roundabout appeared that none of us remembered. In the center stood a wooden sign stuck into fresh dirt. "Reset point." Tyler slammed the brakes. The car skidded, stopped inches before the curb. The engine kept running. On every sidewalk around the circle, people had gathered. Dozens of them now. Families, couples, kids on bikes holding still with one foot on the ground. All staring, waiting. From somewhere above the street, unseen, speakers crackled. "Please exit the vehicle one at a time." No one moved. The doors unlocked by themselves, all four, at once, and the fish mailbox in the center of the roundabout slowly turned, so it was facing us. Story 17, the hiking trail that rewrote the signs. We picked the trail because it was rated easy. Loop route, scenic overlooks, family friendly, the kind of hike you could do in sneakers if you really wanted to. 9 of us met in the gravel parking lot just after sunrise, stretching, passing around sunscreen, joking about who would get tired first. The trailhead map looked normal. Green loops, blue connector paths, restrooms marked near the entrance. Tyler snapped a photo, just in case. We started off under tall fir, trees, sunlight breaking into soft gold patches on packed dirt. Birds called overhead. Someone played music quietly from a backpack speaker until a ranger drove past and gave a look. The first mile was perfect. Then the distance markers stopped matching. We passed a post that read 0.5 miles. 10 minutes later, another one read the same, then another. Marco frowned. Did we slow down? Jenna checked her watch. We've been walking 40 minutes. Tyler pulled out his phone. The photo he'd taken of the map was gone. Not blurry, deleted. The map board at the trailhead photo, still saved, just blank. White square where the image should be. The next sign said, "Continue for views that wasn't a distance." We reached a split in the trail. 2 identical paths. No labels, no arrows, just 2 dirt lines disappearing into trees. We picked the right. 5 minutes later, we crossed a wooden footbridge over a creek. Another 5, and we hit the same footbridge, same knot in the railing, same water stain on the planks. "Okay," Sarah said. "That's not funny." Marco walked to the creek and looked upstream, then downstream. It doesn't curve. The water was running straight through the forest, too straight, like it had been poured into a trench. We crossed anyway. The next sign had fresh wood, new board, letters burned in dark, map updated underneath. Group of 9. We stared at it. Nobody spoke. Tyler swallowed. That wasn't there. Jenna whispered, "Why does it know how many we are?" We backtracked. 10 minutes, 20. The footbridge didn't appear. The forest thickened, trees packed closer, underbrush flattened in lines like something heavy had dragged itself between trunks. We hit another sign. Overcrowding detected. Marco snapped. Who's detecting? Wind passed through the canopy, except the leaves didn't move. The sound came from below, like breath through soil. Sarah stopped, walking. "Listen!" Footsteps, not ours, keeping pace just inside the trees, matching our speed, stopping when we did, starting when we did. Tyler said quietly, "Don't look." We looked, nothing there, just trunks, ferns, shadows. Another sign ahead, redistribution in progress. Jenna grabbed my arm. Redistributing what? Behind us, the forest made a long settling sound, like something shifted to make room. And somewhere farther down the trail, branches cracked slowly, one by one, like someone very big was testing which trees were easiest to move.